mentioned also in the conference room that it's better for the spectrum auctions design that can welcome all the new entries because there will be the high competition, about pricing and content, and it's good for consumers. Can you please share from your own experience about what other countries do with this?
Yes, it's a very, very delicate issue because, of course, ideally speaking, there should be as many bidders as possible. And that's what we thought a few years ago, that many companies would compete and bid for radio spectrum. What we have seen in many countries is actually also what we have seen in Thailand, that the number of bidders is not superior to the number of licenses. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact which has been observed in the United States. It's been observed in many countries in Europe. We can say it's not ideal. We would have hoped for a different situation, but it's a very widely observed fact. So and then the natural outcome, and that's what we have seen in the recent auctions. And we have seen a trend in the unit price of spectrum per person, so to say. The trend has been like this. Originally, there was a bubble. There was a spectrum bubble, like there was an internet bubble 10 years ago. But now we have seen a convergence toward a certain level of price. And what we have seen in Thailand is the prices, as far as I know, have been in line with this average international standard price. So now the problem I would say for the regulator has a very delicate job, because his job is not over when the auction has been organized. His job is to make sure competition happens, is to make sure innovation happens, new generations of technology like 3G and 4G will be introduced. So the job of the regulator is difficult, is to make sure the sector remains dynamic.
Right.
And at some point the regulator has to weigh whether it has sufficient tools, sufficient leverage to promote this dynamic with the existing operators, or whether it has to create new rules. I don't say this for Thailand, but that's what happened in other countries like France or Sweden or Canada. Create new rules, which is always very difficult because people complain, they go to courts, but at some point it might seem necessary to create new rules, to introduce a new operator, to bring more dynamism to the market. For instance, when I say new rules, for instance, the new operator doesn't have the possibility to build a network, in one year to cover the whole country. So for a certain period of time, the new operator only covers, let's say, 20% of the country, and the regulator makes sure the new entrant has access at a regulated price to the network of the other operators, which is always very delicate and not businesslike. But maybe it's for the good of competition, for the good of customers. In some cases, I don't say it's in all cases, but in some cases, that's what has happened in Canada, that's what has happened in Sweden, what has happened in France. And we don't know. Something maybe will happen in the US as well. The FCC is actually reviewing the situation.
Wow, I feel for regulators, especially there are a lot of perspectives, and dimensions, a lot of things that regulators should study through, and work on, for the benefits maximization of using the spectrum, and that is not a very, very small job at all. Anyway, so let's go back to the new entry. Okay, when we say it is better, for the auction to welcome the new entry, should we come up with a long list to make sure that the qualification of that new entry can be handled, can handling the job for this country's infrastructure, cannot be any small or medium-sized firms.
Yes. So a new entrant might be useful in some situations. This has to be assessed by either the regulator or the government, depending who has the competency. In some countries, it's the government itself, and the government decides, and the regulator implements the government decision. So the new entrant, the status of a new entrant is a bit delicate, because the new entrant, has to come, he enters in a market which is already in existence. It's not a new market, so it has to conquer customers. And in many countries, you have 100% penetration of wireless telephony. The new entrant really has to grab the customers from the existing operator, so it has to be commercially very dynamic. Plus, it has to have access to the existing networks which were built by the competitors, which is always a very delicate issue for the regulator. But like I said, it's for the good of competition, and the regulator, has to be transparent in this and bold enough, and say, yes, we need a new entrant, and that this is for the good of the economy, this is for the good of the society.
Yes, and for consumers,
Yes,
of course. So according to Professor Pokoriel mentioned today, he said that pricing for spectrum auction should not be the prime focus or the most important factor in spectrum auction. But if 3G or other spectrum does not happen for real in Thailand, we are going to lose a lot of benefits for the country, especially when we are approaching the stage of AEC 2015. And today, thank you very much, Professor Pokoriel. Have a very good time in Bangkok.
Thank you.
I love what Professor Pokoriel stated during the interview, that money from the auction should not be the primary focus, but how to use spectrum is something that NBTC should seriously look at, especially when it concerns how we live our life nowadays and in the digital era. Well, the weather in Southeast Asia is very stormy right now. And of course, it's getting colder in some other parts of the world. Please keep yourself warm. For information, our TV program airs every Saturday during 11 to 11:30 p.m. Thailand local time on MCOT World. Stay tuned. See you same time again next week in Eyes on 8-Bit.